Well, you know what, I figured since I never made a video in so long, I'll show you what I'm up to with my bedroom fan here. Just super quick little backstory. I just made a video of this fan, I guess about a year ago. You know, the more I mess around with ceiling fans and such, I'm realizing that different fans hum differently in different installations. Now, some fans just hum no matter what you do. But this one, for example, and I think I remember pointing it out in my demonstration video when I had it in the shed, it didn't make a sound, just a little wee bit from the motor itself, but wasn't even noisy. You could actually hear the buzz in the windings, it was so quiet. But ever since I mounted it in my bedroom here, especially when you get along near the walls, like when I'm laying on the bed sleeping here, my head's right up against the wall, you can just hear hum resonating through the walls and everything. It was just kind of weird because in that, you know, I used to be under the assumption that mounted directly to the wood beam would make it louder, but in this case it was making it quieter, and I'm starting to realize that some fans just don't hum at all. Let's just get that straight through. But some of them need a looser connection to cancel out their vibrations and thus not create any resonating humming sound, and some need a really tight connection to be able to cancel out that resonating hum sound. Now, of course, I'm not recommending that if your ceiling fan is noisy and hummy, just go ahead and loosen it off the ceiling a little bit. But yeah, that's when you got to get creative and get some sort of thicker rubber spacers. Oops, the cable pooped out of there. Between the bracket and the box, so it's not like a solid metal to metal connection, and that'll usually help sometimes. But in this case, of course, I guess I should mention that most of the electrical boxes in this old trailer aren't exactly tight. The way they're mounted up in the ceiling, from what I can tell, of course I never took the ceiling off to look, but I see two screws going through the top of the box. That box must be screwed onto a board that's hanging over two roof joists. If you've ever seen inside the roof of one of these old trailers, they literally have like 2x2 boards up there. Maybe the roof joists in some of them are 2x3, but a couple that I've seen on YouTube with, like, you know, rotted ceiling and it's all fallen down, you can see the roof joists, they just have like these 2x2 square boards. So my theory on this is they got that box mounted on the bottom of a 2x2, which is hanging over two roof joists, and you know, it's a 2x2, you're only going to be able to really fit one screw on each side. And who knows, maybe that board's twisted a little bit and it's allowed the box to get loose. Or just straight up, since there's only one screw holding this hanger board down onto the joist, it just doesn't, you know, it's just not tight, it's just there. Although I'm not too worried, you know, I don't think a ceiling fan's ever going to fall down in here. But of course, if you're mounting a ceiling fan in an old mobile home, or any home for that matter, you probably should make sure that the box is properly mounted. Actually, there was a ceiling fan in my grandma's house that just had a super flop connection on the ceiling forever. And finally, once I was old enough to be able to do so, I took the fan down and looked. It had like two big old spikes pounded into a roof joist that was just a little ways away from the box, and then just one tiny little nail on like the 1x6 plank that's above the drywall. Very sketchy. It was barely even hanging on there, and a ceiling fan was mounted to that, so not good. Even if it didn't have the chance to fall down, you know, if the ceiling fan's wobbling all the time and shaking that electrical box, now your Romex is up there constantly flexing. That could eventually lead to a broken wire or a short, and that wouldn't be good. So, long story short, I guess just make sure you got good mounting before you put up your fan. But I don't even know why I'm talking about this, because if you're watching this, you probably know how to mount a ceiling fan. Anyways, to the point of my video, this fan needed a very tight, solid connection to the ceiling in order to not make any humming, resonating sounds in the ceiling. So I kind of got to thinking, well, I got these shims, and I just went ahead and gently tapped them between the bracket and the ceiling here. And it's made it really super tight now. Now we go ahead and hit the switch. Put you right where my head would be when I'm trying to sleep. You can't even hear it anymore. Okay, now I'm going to take a pen. Now I'm going to take a pen and just kind of make a little quick and dirty trace, because I don't want all this excess board hanging out all over the place. And I kind of just want as little board as possible here, because I believe this stuff is supposed to be fire retardant to some degree. Probably shouldn't have a super dry, perfect piece of super flammable kindling right around your electrical connections, even though they're kind of up in there. But I'm just sometimes a little too perfectionist on silly things. So I'm gonna go ahead and trace that, pop this out of here because I don't want to be reefing on my electrical box up there. And I'll just kind of break apart this board so that just a little skinny piece of it about this wide is gonna be right in here. As you can see, not very much of the board is in there. I'm not trying to whittle this between the electrical box and the bracket. I'm simply just putting this between the bracket and the ceiling, just so it pulls down on that electrical box and pulls down on its board that's hanging over two roof joists and just holding it tight. Redneck, I know, you should just fix it right and make it so a ceiling fan is compatible, but meh, you know, do as I say and not as I do. I'm not exactly recommending doing this, I just thought it was something worth showing. And for whatever reason, I have a large collection of pens on my dresser, so I don't even have to go walk anywhere and look for a pen. I think I'm going to break this board off here, just to have as little of this board up on the ceiling as possible. This one out. Now you can see my electrical box, how it moves around a little bit. Not much, but... Oh, actually I think I got my tiger saw in the house. Cool thing about these shim things, it's usually so brittle that if you just make a couple cuts like this, you just do that. There you go. Perfect little mini shim. I guess now I could have used this side and utilized more of this shim, but I won't throw it away. Might come in handy for another electrical box securing adventure. Sounding good. And of course I just realized that I didn't give you guys a demonstration of how much it hummed before I did that, but let's be real, you probably wouldn't even be able to really notice that much of a difference on the camera. I guess it would have been smart to maybe take a level, try to level the fan while I put my shims in, but it's not that far off. It looks perfectly straight down, but it obviously isn't because the blades are going to this side. And there it is. Yeah, now it's just making that quiet, higher frequency motor hum is the best way I can describe it. But it isn't making that low frequency resonating hum that goes through the walls anymore, so right on. Yeah, that's way better. Anyways, now I'm losing my train of thought here. Well, where did I leave off? So we'll just kind of roughly... Oh, of course the pen don't work. There we go. I just realized how slobby that must look. You can tell I don't make my bed.